shall be expelled. Josephus speaks about that from the assembly, like someone whose lot had never fallen, and now they have a different name for themselves, among the disciples of God. Now they call themselves the disciples of God. Earlier they were the perfect of the way. According to his rebellion, the men of knowledge shall punish him until the day he returns, like we heard earlier a little bit, to stand in the presence of the men of perfect holiness. The group is the men of perfect holiness. I think that they are absolute Nazarenes, totally perfect, holy people. And his works are revealed according to the letter and interpretation of the Torah, in which the men of perfect holiness walk. Nor shall anyone cooperate with him in purse and work. This is avodah, that is toil, activity, not ma'asim, as like works. If you remember Acts 15:38, when Paul is going to start out again after the Jerusalem conference, Barnabas refuses, or Paul refuses, Barnabas refuses to travel with him, and John Mark, and takes John Mark with him. And Paul says, I'm not going to travel with this John Mark who betrayed us or who deserted us in Pamphylia. If you know about, there's a break in Acts between Paul and his new disciples, forget their names, Titus, I think he takes on then, and Timothy, perhaps. Titus and Timothy overlap. But in any case, Barnabas no longer travels with Paul. In Galatians, Barnabas breaks with Paul, and Peter breaks with Paul. Galatians 2. But they will not cooperate with him in work and mission. Not Paul, but anyone who has behaved in the way they're describing, they will stop cooperating with. For all the holy ones of the Most High have cursed him. And this is the judgment which will be upon those who reject the Torah among the first and the last. Well, we've heard a lot about who rejects the Torah, and here's the first and the last language. Who have put idols on their heart and walked in stubbornness of their heart. Again, I don't want to keep talking about Paul, but he does have a lot to say about, well, he is stubborn, and he does have a lot to say about heart, and how his teaching, he's writing on his community's hearts. But they put idols on their heart and walk in stubbornness of the heart. Now another name for this group. They shall have no share in the house of the Torah. So now we've heard a second name. They are disciples of God. They are the house of the Torah. They shall be judged according to the judgment on their confederates who turned aside with the men of scoffing, that is plural, because they spoke mistakenly about the laws of righteousness and rejected the covenant and the compact. People who deserted the compact or the covenant in the land of Damascus, which they raised in the land of Damascus. And this is the new covenant. The new covenant land of Damascus, that's the well of living waters. And neither they nor the family shall have a share in the house of the Torah. And from the day of the gathering of the guide, this is Yoreh again, as earlier, instead of Moreh, which is teacher. Yoreh is pourer out of, so translation here might be guide. Of the community until the end of all the men of war who walked with the man of lying. There were violent people who walked with the man of lying. 40 years. And in that era, the wrath of God will be kindled against Israel, as it is saying, there is no king, no prince, no judge, none to rebuke with righteousness. But the penitence from sin in Jacob, that goes back to the penitence of Israel, kept the covenant of God. Then these men, each shall speak to his neighbor, strengthening his brother, supporting their steps in the way of God. And God hearkened to their words and heard. And a book of remembrance was written out before him for God-fearers. God-fearers is the name used in this period for Gentiles attaching themselves to the Jewish community. And remember in those passages in Paul, 1 Corinthians, when he talks about the Last Supper, and in the Last Supper in Matthew and Mark, And Luke basically reprised what Paul says in 1 Corinthians. But in Matthew and Mark, they say, this is the cup of the New Testament in my blood. Drink this in remembrance of me. You got that? Drink this in remembrance of me. That's why I call my book the New Testament Code. And a book of remembrance would be written out. See, this is the Pauline gospel sacrament. I guess it's, what do you call it? Eucharist? No, the Eucharist is the bread. In any case, it's the sacrament of drinking the blood of Christ that is going to make you into a saved person, basically. So it's being applied to Gentiles, God-fearers. And here, in a book of remembrance, was written out before them for God-fearers. So again, I see the parallels. You may not, you not see them, but the word remembrance bangs away on the bell of one's recognition. Whether you think it's important or not, I don't know, but connected to God-fearers, it is very important. And those who consider or reckon his name, that is, God-fearers, they'll have a book of remembrance written for them, and those who reckon his name, whose name? God's name or Jesus' name? I don't know. But his name, until God shall reveal salvation, Yeshua, Jesus. Jesus in Hebrew is Yeshua. Jesus in Hebrew is Yeshua, or salvation. Here it is. A book of remembrance. We've written down. This is why you see manuscript B is so important. It's got all new stuff in it, not in manuscript A. This is column 20 from manuscript B. Until God shall reveal Yeshua and Sadaqah, justification. Again, to those fearing his name, that is the God-fearers of line 42. So I don't know what that means to reveal Yeshua to those fearing his name, but later on, we're going to have them see Yeshua. And the wicked between this, it may not mean anything, it may just be accidental. Why consider all the language here charged? And so now we're on the last column, thank God. Then you shall return and see the difference between the righteous and the wicked.